Good afternoon, everybody. Jason Leva here with the Fort Worth Community Arts Center. Happy Monday and welcome to another episode of Boxed Lunch. We are so very excited to have you with us here today, and we have a fantastic playwright and winner of our inaugural selection for our original work series. So please help me in welcoming the one and only Janae Hatchett. How are you today?
Hi, I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I am doing very well. Another week is behind us, a new week in front of us. All of these fabulous challenges that 2020 continues to bring us. And
Sure.
I am determined to meet them head on and with as much positivity as possible. I think fall might be around the corner, so that's also very exciting.
Yes. Yeah, it's already getting a lot cooler today, which is
Yes,
great.
absolutely. So before we get started, do you mind just introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about who you are and what it is you do?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Janae Hatchett. I am local to the DFW area, but I'm from Lubbock, Texas. Grew up there, went to college there for the first couple years of my college career at South Plains College, then went to Angelo State University over in San Angelo, Texas, so kind of stuck around West Texas until I moved out to the DFW area after graduating. I'm a playwright, I'm an actor, and then by day I work in insurance, so that's super fun stuff. And right now I have a cat messing with my cabinet and making a bunch of noise in the background, but yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Nice. Well, we are so very happy and grateful to you for joining us for the Box Lunch episodes. Now, you and I met way back in what seems like an eternity ago, back whenever we took the original work series online for our play readings. And that was back in March. Was that March or April? I don't even remember.
It was April, because it was supposed to be in March live in person, and then it pushed back to April once the pandemic hit.
Gotcha. So what has changed for you from way back in March to mid-September?
Well, I've been pretty busy, so I've moved condos, and my new condo requires a whole lot of renovation, so I've been keeping busy on that front. But then, I mean, because theaters are shut down and stuff, it's given me a lot of time to do a lot more playwriting. Like I have, one work that I was working on for, I mean, a little over a year. It's the drama, and I've just finished that to where I can finally do like a private reading and do some final editing with it. And then I also just finished a first draft of a comedy. So yeah, just trying to keep busy and set goals for myself to keep myself like creatively occupied.
Nice. And so what is on your lunch menu today?
I have a lovely bottle of wine. This is from the grape region of the country. And if you just waft it up toward your nose, you can get those subtle hints of alcohol. I highly recommend it. Make a great liquid lunch.
I am so envious of a Monday liquid lunch. I'm very curious. Hold that bottle up again and we'll give a little shout out. Is it a red? Is it a white? What is it you're actually dining on this afternoon?
It's a red blend. I got it from Target, and I've never had it before. California roots. So I guess I'll let you know how it goes.
That sounds great. There's nothing better than a vegan lunch, right?
Exactly. I'm thinking about the environment, really.
Well, I am also mixing things up a little bit today. Anybody that's watched the box lunches up to this point, I usually use the burners in the back, but it is Monday. Sometimes it's a little hard to get yourself motivated to pull the skillet out of the oven or out of the walls. So I'm going with the air fryer today. And I am going to be making some cornbread pork sliders. Now, this is new to me. I've never tried this recipe before at all, but I had some pork chops last night that were butterflied with some cheddar and bacon in them. So I made some cornbread muffins as well. So I'm going to put so much cheese on this today. And then you can see I just took the pork chops and laid them over on some cornbread. I've got some cheddar cheese shredded that I'm going to put on there. And then we'll just visit for a little bit while that warms up in the air fryer, and we'll see how things go. So while I'm abusing this packet of cheese here to pure deliciousness, I was curious if you wouldn't mind, as you pour your first glass or just drink from the bottle, I'm not sure how you're approaching the lunch today. Will you tell us a little bit about how you have been reacting and adjusting to the COVID-19 pandemic?
Sure. Luckily, I am an introvert, so I feel like I've been not driven as much crazy as some of my extroverted friends who are just, freaking out because they haven't been seeing people. But yeah, I think it's really important to make sure that, even whenever things were open, if I wasn't, acting in a play or doing in class or something, I need to find a way to make sure that I can be creatively satisfied by myself. And that's how playwriting came about, and that's how I got engaged in that. Because it's just, if I'm having to rely on other people for my own career, then that's not always the best decision, and I'm going to get farther in life by relying on myself and my own, being able to create my own work. So been doing a lot of playwriting, been doing a lot of playing with my cats. I just got them this year, so they've been occupying me a lot, and they're young, so they're still spunky. They want to play a lot, so that's been a lot of fun.
Very nice. So what have you learned about yourself during all of this? I know that you said that you were down in Lubbock for a portion of it, I believe, and that you've come back up to the DFW area. What have you learned about yourself or your family or even your peers during all of this?
Yeah, about myself, as you know, the new and improving, a lot of it is about depression, because I deal with that on a daily basis. So I've learned that there's some aspects that affect me differently. And one of the things that I didn't realize whenever everything was open is that in both the playwriting world and the acting world, I felt like I was kind of falling behind compared to my peers. And there's really no reason for me to feel that way, but that was contributing quite a bit to any mental issues that I was having. And just being shut down and not really being able to do a whole lot of theater has made me realize, like, oh, I'm a little bit at peace right now, because I don't feel like I'm running behind in the rat race whenever there is no rat race going on. So it'll be a challenge for me once things open back up. At least for that, I want things to open back up. I want to be part of the rat race, but to eliminate that, getting in my head mental issue that I've been having.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm curious, originally we were scheduled to produce your show in November of this year. Now, we have talked a little bit and are tentatively scheduled to move that into March of 2021. Hopefully, we'll be in a situation where we're able to make that happen. And have you thought more about your show? Have you had any thoughts of doing any rewrites or additions or anything like that, having a little bit more time to look at the piece that was selected? Have you thought about it differently than you did, say, 7 months ago whenever you first submitted the piece?
Yeah, I have. The passage of time in between writing something and then hearing it out loud and, just letting it marinate without touching it is a beautiful thing and a necessary thing whenever you're writing a new work. I have made some changes. Luckily, this go round of all the times that I've had to do rewrites have not been quite as drastic. Like the first one, the major rewrite that I did before submitting to you guys, my second act was longer than my first act. So I had to like cut a scene and then move it up to the front because my first scene needed to be more dynamic and all that stuff. So luckily I didn't have to do any of that, or I didn't feel like I needed to do any of that this time. But there were some minor things, like I didn't realize until hearing it out loud with back in April that I started using the F word halfway through Act 2, just like flippantly. And I'm like, well, that's a really weird place to just introduce such a drastic word like that. So I've cut out a lot of that. I kept, I think, one because it was a more dramatic moment and it wasn't flippant. So I felt like that was okay. But to just, to have a character just flippantly decide to use that whenever they hadn't been the entire rest of the play just felt wrong. There are also a couple things, I mean, it's a comedy, so there's a lot of jokes in there. And there are a couple jokes that I just all of a sudden hated. So I was like, well, I'm cutting that. Like, that's dumb. And it's just funny, like how whenever you write it, at first you're like, oh my gosh, that's so funny, I'm gonna put that in. And then like 2 months later, you're like, why did I do that? That's so dumb. So yeah, I've made some minor changes.
Nice. For those of us that haven't got to experience the read through or looking forward to seeing original works on the stage again, do you mind taking just a little bit without giving anything away? And will you talk just a little bit about what New and Improving is actually about, and maybe give us a little teaser and something to look forward to as the pandemic continues to challenge us in ways to present theater live on stage?
Yeah, of course. I'll start with just a little bit of a synopsis. So the character centers around this geeky guy named Nathan. And he just started his therapy journey. And one of his biggest issues is socializing and feeling like he didn't have any friends. So his therapist encourages him to go to this therapy mixer where there are going to be a bunch of other people like him that he can interact with and have similar problems to him. So he goes to the mixer and he ends up meeting the two most loudmouth idiots in the entire room. And they decide that they're going to be friends with him because they need to fix him and they need to set him up on a date, because having a girlfriend is just going to solve all of his problems, obviously. And then the story just kind of moves forward from there with all of the chaos, and then you learn, each character. So the whole point of this play is that it talks a lot about mental health, depression, anxiety, etc. And the three main characters are Nathan, Turk, and Piper, so the geeky guy and the two loudmouth idiots that I referenced earlier. And each of them have their own unique issues and how they deal with depression, because depression is kind of like saying the word ice cream. You can say ice cream, but then you go to Baskin Robbins and there's 32 different flavors of ice cream. It's an encompassing word. So, depression is kind of the same. You can go to Baskin Robbins and get 32 different flavors of depression. It's great. So that's something that the play addresses. And then it also, my goal with this is to kind of normalize mental health discussions. One of the really rewarding things about this play being read is that I've had people tell me, like, I'm totally a Nathan, or I'm totally a Piper. Like I can see myself, and it's therapeutic to know that you're not alone in those struggles and that someone understands. So I mean, that's been the really humbling part about this experience. And the cool thing is that, I put myself into some of these characters. I mean, not totally, like they're still their own people, so to speak. But yeah, it's really rewarding to know that someone understands you, and that's the point of this. We should be able to talk about it and it not be taboo.
Yes, well, it is It's a great piece. It really is. And for anybody that would like a little bit of a head start to create some awareness on that particular script, we do have the play reading on our YouTube channel at the Fort Worth Community Arts Center. And there's also a great little interview that gives a little bit more insight into your process and how you came up with that as well. So we encourage people to get over there to the YouTube channel and check that out. So have you found that your writing style has been affected by the pandemic? Has it changed the way you go about things, or are you still just headlong grabbing an idea and just running with it and kind of oblivious to the outside world? Has the pandemic changed your artistic insight or output?
You know, not a whole lot. As far as the types of ideas that I have, I feel like I just have this huge backlog of ideas and things that I want to write, that coming up with an idea hasn't been an issue. Like, I know other playwrights have used the pandemic as inspiration to write something where actors could be socially distanced, and, you know, writing something that could work in a pandemic. I think that's great. I personally haven't been inspired to do that yet, and so therefore I'm not going to force myself to write something that hasn't inspired me yet. But one thing that I have noticed, so the two works that I've been working on the most, one's a drama, one's a comedy. And the one that I've been working on more so than the other one is the comedy, because, you know, I am alone a lot and I need something a little bit more lighthearted to work on versus, just being alone and thinking about a bunch of dramatic things all the time, and like depressing things doesn't exactly help mentally. So I mean, that aspect of it has changed.
So are you able to give us any kind of tidbits or teases on some of your new works? I know you did,
Sure.
by saying you had a drama and a comedy. Can you just give us some nuggets and some insight as to what you're working on these days?
Yeah, you know, and both of these plays have kind of cool backstories of how I came up with them. So one of them, and you'll have to forgive me because I think I talked about this whenever we were speaking back in April, and I think you asked me, like, what's the worst thing about playwriting or whatever, and I said I suck at coming up with titles. I absolutely do. So this first one is called A Writer's Journey. I hate the title. It's just temporary, so don't take that too seriously. So it's about this playwright, and it's set in the late 1950s, because I wanted to insert some, like, just real small bits of feminism and how, like, I mean, obviously, I hate to say that women were treated like property, because that's not quite right. But, you know, the man was the head of the household, especially back then. And I didn't want to hammer that in, because then it's like, oh, well, yeah, it's the 1950s and it's different now. I wanted to make it like real subtle to kind of show, like, okay, well, maybe things haven't changed quite as much as we want them to yet. Right. So anyway, it's about this playwright, and he just moved with his wife to New York because he wants to be like a full-time playwright or whatever. And then he's also writing a play, and so then there's also a play within a play, and this play within a play kind of changes as the playwright's and the wife's real life story changes, to kind of show how how the outside influences end up affecting the playwright, and he kind of like falls in love with this other woman, and then all of a sudden the actress in the play starts acting more like her, and I mean, it's a fun piece. I kind of pulled it inspiration wise from William Inge, because I was acting in Picnic back whenever I came up with this idea. So I mean, as far as the characters go, it's kind of that type of story. And then also, so the play within a play is set in West Texas, because I mean, that's another thing that William Inge did. He was like, okay, well, here are these characters, I'm setting them, you know, back in my home state. And my dad told me the story of back whenever my grandpa was working on houses, doing like painting and all that stuff. He, I don't remember exactly what task he was doing at the time, but working in a house and it's later at night and there's a tile guy working on tile on the bathroom floor, and he starts singing this tune. And my grandpa was like, "That's cool. What is it?" And it turns out that this guy is Buddy Holly, and he's working on, he's just singing this tune of something he wrote. And then later on, he's like, hears it on the radio and stuff. So anyway, so that was kind of a cool story, and I've incorporated some of that personal family history into this piece and the play within the play. So yeah, that's that one. And then I'm also working on a melodrama right now. It's kind of funny because I never thought that I would ever write a melodrama. I really didn't, because I'm not that nerdy of a person as far as those people who they're obsessed with Lord of the Rings, for example. They have their thing. Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, whatever. I don't really have that thing. But then my grandpa had moved to a nursing home because he had Alzheimer's. So we were clearing out his stuff before he passed away, and he has this big book collection. And some of the books that I was allowed to take were these really old, they're not first edition, but they're second edition, written in the 40s, of Party Boys books. And so I took those and kind of started reading through that. And I thought, well, that'd be really cool to do a Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew mashup melodrama. So I've been working on that, and it's been a lot of fun, especially since, there's so many Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew books that it's felt less like I'm just writing a spoof versus it feels like I'm just writing another story, because I'm not following exactly the plot line of any of the books. I created my own plot line, so I'm still creatively engaging myself and I guess creating from scratch, and I'm just using the characters to fill out the story. So I hope that turns out fun. It's been fun to write so far. I've finished a first draft of that and going through rewrites. So yeah.
Nice. Now I find it interesting that you said you don't consider yourself to be nerdy in terms of that, but I seem to remember there were some qualities in that lead character about some Star Trek obsession, possibly, and it seems like I want to say Doctor Who-ish kind of as well, or
yeah. And then also comic books. Some of that stuff, I'll be honest. I've watched a little bit of Star Trek, not enough to be a Trekkie or anything. I think one of the longest Star Trek things that I watched was one of the more modern movies with Chris Pine. Sure. But I, as far as some of the nerdy stuff goes, I actually consulted with my friend Spec. And in fact, he wrote one of the lines for me because I wanted him to be into comic books, Nathan to be into comic books, and Spec is. And so I texted him and I was like, "How many comic books do you have?" And he goes, "I have however many thousand, that's 55 long boxes. They weigh a ton, literally." And I was like, "Cool, I'm going to use this exact text and put it in my play. Thank you." So yeah, I got my nerdy stuff from him.
Nice. Well, I know him as well, and I can vouch that that rings very true from what I'm aware. So here's a random question for you. If you could have any actor in the world play that lead character in New and Improving, who would you choose?
Any actor in the world,
live or dead, famous or local?
I could see. I have two answers. I'm gonna do the famous one first. I could see Matthew Broderick as Nathan. Yeah, because I just immediately thought of the producers. Yeah, I could see him as a Nathan. Locally, I have had David Helms read that part before, And yeah, he was phenomenal. I mean, he's a phenomenal actor in general. So like anything that he touches is just amazing. But yeah, he was very, very good.
Nice, nice. There's some great stuff there. It is really a fantastic script, and I'm quite excited to be able to actually get it up on its feet and play with it as well. So again, we're just very grateful that you took the time to submit it, and certainly looking forward to producing that over at the Fort Worth Community Arts Center. So in terms of producing, how do you see the arts adapting and moving forward through all of this?
You know, I think that there has been some positive stuff with moving over to a virtual world. I honestly feel like it doesn't work in the theater world that well, just in general, because I mean the whole point of live theater is that it's live.
Yeah.
You know, it's if we wanted to create something and have it not be live, I mean, we might as well just be doing film and television and just forget theater, and that's not fun. I mean, it's very rarely have I ever seen a movie or a TV show that just awed me like live theater does. It's just hard to compete compared to being in the room with the action. And I feel like a lot of theater goers would agree with that. That's why it still exists. But I mean, I think that there have been some positive things. I mean, just the resilience of the artist community has been astounding. I think I talked to you about this in like the pre-interview, but I'm taking a voice acting class with Stage West right now. And that works perfect over Zoom. I mean, it would be a little bit better in person, but honestly, you just need to hear my voice. You don't need to like see the rest of my body to be able to do voice acting. So that's been really cool. I know that like Pocket Sandwich Theater has done like virtual escape room type stuff, which has been interesting. So yeah, I mean, I hope that this isn't the new normal. I don't think that it's going to be, but I think it's also important that we try to adapt with what is here so that we're not all run out of business.
Yeah, really. Yeah, it's certainly been a challenge, and there's been some really interesting debates in terms of does theater become film once it's one-dimensional with the screen, so to speak, and how do we get around those things and be able to continue to enjoy the engagement of an audience, which I believe is one of the prominent factors that separates live theater from film. And we can experience film together in a theater as well, and a lot of times they are able to do that, but there's a broad energy that comes from being able to see the entire peripheral of a stage, as opposed to the way a camera catches a specific reference of focus and kind of feeds that to you, so to speak. So I think one of the main differences between theater and film is a lot of times a film director pushes the focus, and a lot of times in theater, the audience is the one that really tends to push that. If it's a joke or a beautiful set, you'll really see how the audience tends to find that focus. And it's something that I certainly enjoy when you have the opportunity to be in there and engage with that energy of a live setting. So what do you miss most about live theater? I know you've done a lot in terms of writing and performing as well. Is there something that you miss more than others?
I mean, I miss being part of a cast, honestly. I mean, even as an actor or playwright, I mean, there's just something nice about being part of like a group of people who all have a common goal, who all want something to go on and for it to be done well. It's like those group projects in, high school and stuff, except fun because everyone wants to participate. Yeah, and then like going out to eat afterward or grab a drink or whatever with people after shows. I mean, that's one aspect that I miss a lot because that's how you get to really know people. I mean, even with the virtual reading that we did of New and Improving back in April, you know, I got invited to just hang out with the cast in a Zoom meeting afterward, and even that was just nice to be able to talk to people because I've worked with Joshua before and I worked with Marissa before, but the rest of them were new to me. And so yeah, just being able to connect with new people and then being able to friend them on Facebook and get to know them a little bit better has been really a blessing.
Nice. So outside of the theater world and the artistic realm, what sort of food item or activity are you most looking forward to engaging in once everything settles down and you feel comfortable enough to get out there and live life like we used to, as many people are clamoring for?
Yeah. You know, the main restaurant that I miss is Trinity Irish Pub over in Mockingbird Station in Dallas off of Mockingbird and 75. Yeah, I mean, it's a pub atmosphere, but they have like really good food. They have an awesome pot roast sandwich that I love, and then they also have an awesome burger and cheese fries, and yeah, I feel like most of the places that I end up missing are, this sounds bad, they end up being bars, because the part that I miss is being able to go to eat afterward with the cast, and of course you have to like find a bar that has good food. That's like the priority because you haven't eaten yet and you need something that's open late. Even if you're not drinking alcohol, like you need a place to go. And that, for a lot of time for me and my friends, that was Trinity. So I need them to open back up and at least just serve food, please.
Yeah, that sounds delicious. Pork roast sandwich. I might have to venture over there myself whenever things get back up and active again. So
yeah.
So I'm curious, what sort of helpful community resources are you seeing or using as a playwright or a talent? And how can playwrights be assisted and provide assistance to other artists or organizations?
Okay. I mean, I would say that the biggest resources that we're all using right now, obviously, is like Zoom or WebEx. I mean, even in my day job activities, we use WebEx for freaking everything. I've also noticed that it seems like the theaters that have been most resilient are the ones that are offering classes, like acting classes or things like that. And then also cabarets are a really big thing right now. Anything that performers can do by themselves in their own room and send it out into the world. That's been a really big resource. As far as like what I can contribute as a playwright, I'm not totally sure. I mean, it seems like it's from the submissions and stuff that I've seen, that's all been kind of mostly normal. A lot of it has been, we promise that this will happen at some point eventually, and you know, it's some far away date, so you can still submit to it, but whether or not it actually happens, you don't know. So yeah, I mean, I would say just, you know, keeping your eyes and ears open for any opportunity that's producing like right now, because I know that some places locally are doing the pandemic style theater and skits and stuff. So yeah, just keeping your craft up that way.
Have you had any inspiration to write for Zoom or virtual, or are you just like, nah, I'm gonna stay on track with what I've got? When I finish these, maybe I'll think about something else?
Yeah, I mean, I'm leaning more toward the latter of what you said, mostly because I have like the two full-length plays that I'm working on right now. Those have been in my back pocket since before the pandemic, and so I feel like I need to get those out first. And anything, I think I mentioned this back in April. I'm kind of, I don't write things in order necessarily, and it's a big deal to me. Like if I have something in my head, I need to stop and write it down right then, because that's whenever it's going to come out best, versus if I keep to the schedule of like, no, I have to work on scene 3 even though I really want to write scene 5. Like, why? I might as well just go ahead and write scene 5. So that's so yeah, I mean, that's why I've just been trucking forward the way that I have. I mean, I will say that in the middle of writing these, I did write a short piece because there was a call for like a 3 to 5 minute piece from one of the local theaters. Yeah, but as far as writing specifically for Zoom, I guess I haven't seen. And maybe I'm just looking in the wrong places. I haven't particularly seen something that's requesting that specifically that has inspired me to write that thing. So.
Gotcha. Well, we are certainly look forward to the next scripts that come out from you, and we're just so tickled to have one to work on right now, and
Yeah.
just waiting with bated breath to get started on that as well. So, can you tell us? Do you have any tips or tricks on how to stay sane at home, mentally or physically?
Sure. So one thing that's helped me out a lot is that I adopted cats this year, and they're my first pets ever, so I'm kind of obsessed with them. So let's just clear the shelters. Everyone go adopt a friend. You're staying at home anyway, so they need a home. Why not? No, I'm kidding. For me, the most important thing is to try to make life as normal as possible. So I started thinking about, okay, whenever things were going on as per normal, what was the thing that kept me going? And I'm a very goal-oriented person. And so, you know, with writing or any other project, like I did a painting just for fun the other day. I'm not a good painter, but I was like, I want to do this thing just to, you know, have something different to do. Yeah, to set a goal for yourself so that it feels like, oh, I'm in a play right now and I have these goals because we have to open in 4 weeks or whatever. Yeah, to just push yourself instead of having to sit back on your heels and be bored.
Yeah, it's been a challenge, and I know that people are looking for all kinds of insight as to how to enlighten themselves and stay active and more importantly, just engaged. And I think if we're able to do that with and for one another, eventually we will be fine and be able to get out of this. So. Now you haven't taken a single drink of lunch. I'm just about plated up here and got some cheese burnt. So I'm going to go ahead and show mine off here for a final presentation. It looks a little better with all of that beautiful cheddar cheese on there. And then I'll just sandwich that up. And so this is probably the most important question that I'm going to ask you through the whole entire interview. There you go. How and where can we find you and keep up with you to find out all of the great things that you've got going on?
Sure. So Facebook is good if I've met you before. Yeah, if I've like at least seen you, you know, you just kind of have to be careful with some social media stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't want just random people on my friends list and then you get hacked or whatever. So if I haven't ever met you before, then Instagram would be a good place. You still have to request approval, but I mean, typically if you're not, you know, living in France or, you know, somewhere that's, why would you even be requesting this? Then I'll just approve you and it's not that big of a deal. I also, I'm working on a website. It'll just be janaehatchett.com. So that's forthcoming, but it's not here yet. So yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I can't thank you enough for taking the time today. And any final thoughts or words of wisdom for folks out there in the social media world?
Well, I did have one thing that I wanted to say. I forget which question it was that I skipped over. Um, so as far as like submitting for new works and stuff for the people who are playwrights out there, like new playwrights, um, the Fort Worth Community Arts Center was my 36th thing to submit new and improving to before it finally got accepted into something, which I still feel like is kind of a low number compared to, some other people. I still feel very blessed and lucky. But yeah, I mean, if you only submitted to like 10 places or something and it just feels impossible, like it's not. So just all you can do is just keep trucking forward and keep submitting until somebody likes it. So yeah.
Wow. Well, we certainly did, and that is a great piece of advice for folks out there who think it's just one and done. It
Yeah.
usually takes a little bit of a grind to not only find your voice, but also to find an area or the right time or the moment that is uh, listening for that particular message. So we certainly did enjoy it, and again, we just can't wait to see you in person and
Yes.
get a chance to get in there and flesh that script out. So thank you again for submitting it. And I'm going to be real honest, we've opened up submissions for the next round of original work series. And
Yeah.
I'm hoping maybe you finish another one and get it to us before it closes up. So just very grateful to have you, and so very thankful that you took the time to join us. And I guess that wraps up another edition
Cool.
of Box Lunch here at the Fort Worth Community Arts Center. So with that being said, make sure you follow us out there on Facebook, Instagram. Again, I just want to remind everybody that we've got 8 scripts and play readings on the YouTube channel as well. So if you're looking for something to do, head over there and check that out as well. You'll get a little bit of insight to new and improving, which I give you my word will be coming to the Fort Worth Community Arts Center just as quickly as we can get together and gather safely and get back to producing live. So with that being said, thank you so much for joining us today, and we wish you all well. I'm going to try this pork chop cornbread slider. Raise your glass, and here's a tip to everybody out there. Bye-bye, everybody. Have a great day. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to everybody else. We'll see you again next Monday. Take care, everybody.
Good? Okay.
Delicious.